complicated I'm just bro, I just messed it up. Making YouTube videos seemed so complicated when I wasn't aware of the fact that people were scripting their videos. That may be stupid, but guys were making these sophisticated, very like polished YouTube videos. They had scripts, right? They were professionals at it. Like, I didn't realize how professional they were about it because I couldn't know. I was at school. I didn't know what professional meant at the time. I don't know. Now I realize, yeah, so if you want to be a YouTuber, then you have to make these really sophisticated and really good looking cinematic videos. Because that's what was working at the time. It was like, when I'm saying at the time, it was like 5 years, 7 years, even 10 years ago. That's what was working the best. But when YouTube began, these type of videos were the videos that were working best. Just people saying stuff, right? And then just because we had that TV mentality, I assume, that people starting to professionalize because there was some money to make, I guess, on that thing. And I feel like with this push of small creators, it's not even I feel like, it just seems pretty obvious that the old YouTube is coming back. It's being more popular. It's being popular enough to make me realize that it actually always was there, that it still exists. That's what I mean, actually, because I talk too fast. That's the problem with being spontaneous. That's the problem with just taking your camera and just saying what you mean. It's just sometimes you're just gonna miss some points, right? You're just going to say stuff and realize, oh, it lacked the nuance. It weren't, that's spontaneity. It's almost like being live. And that's the point with like these really scripted YouTube videos, is that they make the research, they're taking the time to write the script, so they don't say anything they would regret, kind of. Or that the whole point is made in a very pristine way, so it's perfect. It's basically perfect. But if you don't know the amount of work and what is behind this, that they may have teams and they may do that all day long, and they have specialized people working in these teams, and you're trying to replicate this as yourself, as a beginning creator, just like I did, that's why I didn't want to do this. My whole view on creating content was biased because of that. And now when I realized like the simplicity, and I broke down the process, or I broke down the content creation thing to its core, to its essence. What is content creation? It's just communication. It's just communicating ideas, no matter the medium. It's just people were optimizing for retention, right? With all these fancy edits and stuff. It was just to squeeze out as much efficiency as possible. That's kind of industrial. And that's, I guess, there are a lot of complaints of like, yeah, it doesn't seem authentic. These guys are just acting, it just feels industrial now. Because it reached a point where these things were so systemized that a ton of guys were realizing, not realizing, just feeling like, oh, it feels off. It feels off in a way, this way of doing videos. Now there's a whole spectrum. I'm not saying like either you just industrialize your process and hire editors and write scripts and like completely conform to the scripts. Either you're just a guy who's speaking his phone and like just rambling. That's not what I'm saying. There's a whole spectrum. There's a ton of guys who have a semi-professional setup, right? Have with a mic, with good lighting, but they're not writing scripts and they're just like speaking their minds, which is like, I think it's a format that works really well. And on the extreme, there is like me, like, on a Sunday morning walking, pondering, and just ending up like on a seaside, rambling about what I was thinking about. That's the extreme, like that's the most extreme thing. And that's the whole point, is just not thinking that just because something is industrial, it's the only thing that can work. Because it just plugged into a bias that we have, that modern minds have, that it's so complex, you know. Producing something is so complex. Producing something that works so complex. Just because we have cars, we have TVs, we have like electricity and distribution and water on the top, etc., and all these things that have really complex systems behind it. So we think that every single thing that we can have of value, of at least minute value, of the smallest value that you can have, there's a whole complex system behind it, which I think is the thing that makes intelligent people overthink, because it's just the fruit of generations. It didn't appear just because one guy made a master's degree in engineering and just figured everything out in a couple of years or in a couple of months even. Because that's the impression that I have when I overthink. It's just, that's just stupid. Because overthinking comes from these kind of biases. And the bad perfectionism, when you say perfectionism, the bad thing about perfectionism is just not being efficient. But you can perfect something, but it's a process, right? That's what I realized. Looking at really sophisticated pieces of art, they are really intricate, and I'm like, yo, like this guy did it himself. He didn't have like a model or something, like some Leonardo da Vinci, for example, or a guy like called how is his name? Vlop, WLOP. Just go and Google that if you want. Just Vlop. This guy, his art pieces are so high quality and so intricate. Maybe there are a couple of guys. There are multiple guys. But just for the sake of the argument, let's say that the guy is alone, right? Because he does 3D stuff, etc. He used to just like have the perspective and to perfect it. But if you zoom in on the elements, for example, some birds or some pearls, or really simple elements, right? Isolated elements. And if you zoom in, this thing, you will realize, bro, it's just it's not even a bird. But just because he placed that bird and chose the right color and placed it so well and he replicated it, right? Because he would define, okay, what's a bird? It's the thing in the sky. And when it's in the sky, we see it as black. Just go look at Vlop. Just type Vlop on Google and just see his pieces of art. And that's what I realized. Yeah, he actually made me think that that bird, or that black dot, was a bird. When I zoomed in, it was just a black dot. It's impressive. But just, to make the point that perfection it's just a building up of simple things. It's just simple things building up into a whole picture. And you realize, I don't know if DaVinci really said that quote, but anyway, I will quote it anyway, that simplicity is the highest form of sophistication, or something like that. Which is so true when you look at, just go Google it. Bro, it's just so true when you look at that. When you look at any art pieces, or if you can just bootstrap this reasoning to other things, and realize, oh, that reasoning, that idea is just present everywhere. Just simple things that are done repetitively. That's why there is no reason that a simple format like that should not work, because in essence, it's just interesting ideas that are broken down well, so that people can understand. That's the only thing a video is supposed to be. Oh, It's not that the only thing that a video is supposed to be, but that's the main function, that's the main benefit of having the ability to post videos on the internet. Just to explain ideas and articulate them in a way that is understandable and that has benefits into them. So whatever you're doing, yeah, I will wrap up with that. Whatever you're doing, apply this reasoning. Apply this reasoning. How can you break it to the most simple elements? Break it down to the most simple elements and then build back up to the big picture. And with repetition. And that justifies the whole thing of, yeah, the self-improvement, like you have to be consistent, you have to be focused, you have to be this, you have to be disciplined, that. That's why. In practice. That's why. So yeah, have a nice day and take care.